Aloha Sydzillians! Welcome to episode 52 of This and That in Stars. For this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Marvel movie Avengers Endgame, or Infinity Wars Part 2. If you've not seen my Infinity Wars Part 1 review, I'm going to have that linked in the description for you. But this video is going to be a much longer, more in-depth review. As you can tell from the title, it does include spoilers, unlike my Part 1 review, so just be aware. I know I went to the game, taking until yesterday to watch it, but I'm still going to warn you. Also note that I took notes during the watching of the movie, so that's what I'm going to be looking at. If you see me glance down, I have here my notebook, and I've also taken the notes chronologically, so that's the order in which I'm going to do this review, as opposed to looping into categories. So let's get into what I wrote down first. So the first thing that I want to talk about literally happens at like 2 minutes into the movie. Clints is hanging out with his family, daughter, 2 sons, and his wife. Clint is Hawkeye, if you don't know. And his family, all 4 of them, are included in the blip. When Thanos snaps, they're just gone. And it's really depressing to watch that. It's also really interesting how Clint never calls his wife by her name, which is Laura. He just says babe like 7 times as he runs around the field trying to figure out what the heck has happened to them. So the next thing I want to talk about is a quote that I really liked from Captain Marvel. This is pre the 5-year time jump. We haven't gotten to that part of the movie yet. It's just been a few months since the snap of Infinity War. The heroes that did survive are in what I assume is S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, talking about a way that they can stop Thanos. They come up with a plan that they're going to go to this other planet and try to fight him there and blah blah blah, get the stones away from him. And I love how Captain Marvel says, you didn't have me before. Basically saying, I am the reason you're going to win this time. It didn't come true, but I just love how she had that much optimism about herself. Like, I'm so good, I'm so hoity-toity, you're going to win because I was there. The next item that I want to talk about is also a quote. We have now had the 5-year time jump, and we come onto this room. It looks kind of like an AA setup, but whatever it is, it's definitely not that. And Captain America says, you got to move on. I don't know what exactly he's referring to, but I think a part of it at least is in reference to him still having feelings for Peggy all of these years later. But I think that him saying that is the most ironic thing, because he stared at her picture before they went into battle. At the very end of the movie, we're going to jump ahead all the way to there, he is taking the stones back to the original spot in the timeline, the proper spot in the universe, and then he never comes back. He literally stayed in 1950 or whatever it was, and he dated Peggy, and now he's like a senior citizen when Sam goes to talk to him at the bench by the lake. So how can you tell people to move on if you do the exact opposite? Like, that there is hypocritical advice, but okay, whatever. So now we're at the part of the movie where we see Tony at his lake house. And at his lake house, he is playing with his child. I really love that he has a child. She's super cute and everything. But I just wonder why Marvel movies make people have daughters so much more than Marvel movies make people have sons. Like, I'm going to name you the heroes that I know that have kids, and you're going to see my point. Iron Man, 1 daughter. Ant-Man, 1 daughter. Hawkeye, 3 children, and yes, 2 of them are sons, but who did he hang out with in the clip before they blipped? Who was he helping do archery? The daughter. What is it with having so many daughters in Marvel movies? Also, Thanos technically had daughters with Gamora and Nebula, so why can't you just give someone a son? And yeah, I digress on Clints too, but like, seriously, what is it with daughters? However, I do really like Iron Man's daughter Morgan, like I said, because her quote, I love you 3000, is one of the cutest things of all time. Like, just the absolute cutest, best ever. I don't remember the exact details of this scene, but I want to next talk about another quote. This is when Iron Man says, and not die trying. I just think that quote is really sad and really ironic because, well, y'all know how it ended. He tried and he died. So the not do it part is the one that came false. But anyway, we didn't know that at the time. I was spoiled in advance, but if you don't know that at the time, you don't think much of it. But you really should be, because, well, like I said, the ending. The next item that I want to talk about is Steve's fashion. Like Captain America, whenever he's not wearing his Captain America suit. It's not ugly, it's not bad. There's just something about it that's not a vibe that I like on him. I don't know what about it, but it just, I don't know. I can't with it. That's the short form. You tell me what do you think, but I just could not with Steve's fashion for like literally the entire movie whenever he's not wearing one form of hero suit or another. So now we're at the part of the movie where Rocket and Hulk have gone to New Asgard because they want to recruit Thor for their team. The whole time travel thing has been discussed, quantum realms, yada yada, and they're getting all the heroes together so they can go back in time, gather the stone, stop Thanos. You know how it goes. So they go to New Asgard and they go to Thor's house to try and find him. And I just think this scene is the most hilarious thing because, you think of Thor as like this hot person, like he's ripped, his abs, like most people think, oh yeah, Chris Hemsworth's great, hot, but he's now really fat. It's probably just a fat suit, but it's really funny that he's really fat. And also Korg playing Fortnite on the TV, like Fortnite in a Marvel movie. It was the funniest thing. And then the Noob Master speech, like, hi, Noob Master, it's Thor God Thunder. I'm gonna come to your house and I'm gonna destroy you if you don't blah blah blah. It was the funniest thing ever. And also, I really liked how Korg was in a Hawaiian shirt because I watched a video a while ago about like LGBT Marvel characters, and I listed Korg as gay in that particular video. And there's a quote that I have about Hawaiian shirts, and when you tie that quote to the fan video that I watched, I just low-key think that Marvel knew what they were doing to make it canon. But here we have the quote. Greg Miller was quoting Homer Simpson on an episode of Dear Hank and John. There are only two kinds of people who wear Hawaiian shirts: big fat party animals and gay dudes. There we have my entire point. Korg in a Hawaiian shirt. Thank you for coming. Also the noob speech. That was the greatest thing. So now we're at the point where the heroes have all been assembled. Everyone knows where in time and when in time they are going to be traveling to, what stone they're supposed to be gathering. They've worn their suits and they're doing this walk. I just love the walk in their iconic white time travel suits. The suits are really nice. The lighting, the cameras, everything about that scene is just beautiful and perfect. All the heroes are ready to go into their battle in the past. It was the absolute greatest walking montage scene that I've probably seen in any movie when people have to walk like that. Now, one of the groups is going back in time to New York, 2012. Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Ant-Man. And if I recall correctly, this was the events of Age of Ultron, but I could be wrong. And back in that timeline, Hulk was a very aggressive person. You saw him beating some things up in this movie, and the Hulk of 2019 is like cringing because it's so awful. But then he needs to keep up the facade and not let people know that Hulk is different. So he tries to beat up some things, and it's the lamest aggression you've ever seen. He like touches a cab, like lightly touches it, and it dents. But because he's so strong, that's why it dents. And then he takes a motorcycle and just tosses it, and it's the lamest thing, but it's so funny. He's trying to be aggressive, but he's like not aggressive anymore, and it's the funniest thing ever. Also in New York, there's a quote from Iron Man. He is referring to Captain America, like the Iron Man of 2019 to Captain America of 2012. He says, that suit did nothing for your butt. He used a word, but I'm not going to swear on this video. And I just think it's the funniest thing because there have been fan videos, fan theories of people shipping Tony and Steve. And now Tony talking about Steve's butt, like, I think Marvel knows what they're doing. I think they really know what they're doing. And this is during the scene where the 2012 heroes are interrogating Loki in the apartment. Now, I want to fast forward you to Morag, the planet where Rhodes and Nebula have gone to get an Infinity Stone. And somehow, with the way Nebula's computerized brain works, alien brain, I don't know what creature she really is, somehow old Nebula is able to play a video of future Nebula, and therefore Thanos knows what the heck is going on. And it's really confusing me because I have no idea how she gets access to that technology. How can old Nebula see future Nebula? But whatever, that's how it is. And Thanos use that to his advantage a lot, playing videos over and over and over. Like, sure, there are some dangerous things, old Nebula versus new Nebula, and the way Gamora was at that time frame, but like I said, it's all gonna turn out good in the end. So it doesn't matter. It just confused me when it first came on, because like, how can you see this? Because you're old, and this is an event from the future. In this Nebula's timeline, it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know how you're seeing this. And also the fact that you can play videos projected out of your eyeball, like in front of you like this, that is really cool, but it just confused me when it first came on. It's the short form of the rant. Also on Morag, there's this clip we see of Peter Quill. He's dancing, singing, and just coming through this area. It's really sad to watch that scene, because we know that Peter was one of the ones that blipped away, snapped gone from Thanos in Infinity War. He's fine in the end. He's one of the majority that is fine, but it doesn't make that scene any easier to watch. Just seeing past Peter happy if any of this happened is really sad. So jumping back to 2012, the group in New York, there's a scene where Captain America is walking down a hallway, and also Captain America walking down the same hallway in the opposite direction. 2012 Cap is pretty convinced that that's Loki in disguise, but it's not. It's 2019 Captain America, and when they fight each other, it's hysterical, because they're the exact same strength, height, weight, skill, weapons, etc. So it's just really fun to watch. And yes, I know you're not supposed to talk to your past or future self when time traveling. You'd ruin the timeline and stuff. But that fight was not the reason that things went wrong. The reason that things went wrong, and the reason that Tony and Steve had to use the last particles to go to, I want to say it was the 70s, and get a different Tesseract and more particles from a really, really young Hank, was because the plan that they had, Ant-Man was going to give a heart attack to the 2012 version of Iron Man, went horribly wrong. Loki ended up taking the Tesseract from the open briefcase, and he like blipped away into wherever the hell he went. Not like Thanos blip as in like gone, dead essentially, but like just gone in a way that they couldn't get the stone. So they hadn't achieved everything they needed to achieve just yet, and that's why they used their particles to go to the 70s and get the stone, the Tesseract, in an alternate manner. So while Steve and Tony are in the 70s, like I mentioned, Hank Pym is much, much younger, but it's a shock to see him that way, because I used to him being like, what is he in Ant-Man? 70s, 80s, and now he's like 40, and it's such a shock. But I think the biggest shock is Tony seeing his dad. And this is in a stage of life where Tony isn't even technically born yet. The wife's like 8-9 months pregnant. Tony hasn't even come into this world yet. And here the dad and the son are having all these interactions, unknowingly, at least on the dad's part, that is the son. And yes, I know that I'm a character having a son. Don't come at me, my original point still stands. I also really like how Tony's fake name was his dad's name plus his wife's last name. Like, hi, I'm Howard Potts. It was the cutest, greatest thing ever. But he probably shouldn't have given Howard as his first name. Like, I would have said Tony Potts, and he would never have questioned it. Like, this dude had Tony, and I'm going to end up naming my son Tony? Oh, coincidence. Like, he would never have thought twice about it. Just trust me, he would not have. But I thought that entire scene and everything they talked about together was very adorable. I just liked that interaction. So now we're going to transfer to the planet and time, can't remember that, sorry, where Natasha and Hawkeye have been tasked with retrieving the Soul Stone. So they hear the message from the floating Red Skull guy. I forget his name, but he's part of, I want to say, Hydra in previous movies. Anyway, they hear the message from the floating Red Skull dude and learn that they have to make a sacrifice to get the stone. You recall that happened in the first movie when Thanos killed Gamora to get it. Both people are convinced that they want to be the one to make the sacrifice, but in the end, and it's really depressing, but I knew it was coming, so I could handle it a little better, Natasha is the one that kills herself for Clint to retrieve the stone and end up in the same water pool that Thanos was sitting in after Gamora. And also, as much as I'm sad that Natasha is dead now, no more Black Widow, I prefer that it's her just for the sake of Clint getting back with his family, the wife and the 3 children. Like, the way he ran around the field back at the beginning, and also he was like killing all those people as an assassin before they gathered him for this mission. Like, you don't do what you do because you're so upset about losing your family. You're like, no, let it be me. I will die for the stone. Like, no. I understand you want to be a hero, but it needs to be Natasha. It needs to, okay? Also, his hair. I don't know if it's this scene exactly or if it's a bit later, but that mohawk is just awful. And that hair was just not it. I liked his hair in every other scene when it wasn't so ugly. Now, once all the heroes are back in the present, well, minus Natasha, of course, and they've gathered up all of the Infinity Stones, they've built the gauntlet, they've put the stones in, and it's time for the snap to occur. They're going to snap for the second time. Thor's trying to convince everyone why it should be him, but Iron Man is like, no, it can't be you. You're not in a state. All of his drunkenness and his fatness and everything that had happened previously with his character in the movie. And so Hulk ends up being the one to do the snap. Bruce Banner gets to do it. Oh, one thing I'll mention, because I forgot to previously, I do really like in this movie how Bruce Banner and Hulk are one person at the exact same time. Like, he's half Hulk, half Bruce. It's not like before where he was either fully Bruce or fully Hulk. He's managed to work in his lab, his gamma lab, and get a 50-50 situation. He can also now wear clothes as Hulk. Like, you see him with a shirt and a suit and pants not ripped, and it's just like, this is incredible. I know it shouldn't be because it's just a shirt, but this is incredible. Thank you. What is the science? Anyway, my point is that Hulk is the one that gets to do the snap. Not long after the snap, and we know things have at least partially worked, because how else could Hawkeye be getting a phone call from Laura, his phone, with Laura? Oh my god, yes. Anyway, I just love the entire final battle. All of it is incredible. Every last part about it. It made me think that the workers on this movie, or any superhero movie really, the acting, the stunts, the special effects, the editing, the camera, the lights, like, so many people put in so much time to make this work. I saw this one video, and I think it might have been DC, but the point still works, about the actors on a green screen, and when you watch Supergirl without any effects, it was the stupidest, cringiest, funniest thing. So the way that the editors have to go to make these movies look good, oh my god. Just applaud all of them a million times over. Thank you. Anyway, my main point is there are a couple of highlights that I want to pick out from this battle. We're going to start with the fact that Thor did something with lightning. All the lightning just cracked around him, and boom, his beard was braided. He braided his own hair with a bunch of lightning. Like, how? How do you braid your beard with lightning? I want to know how the heck you accomplished that. Secondly, Captain America is officially worthy because he picked up, touched, used, held, what do you want to call it, with Thor's hammer. The original hammer, because when Thor was back getting a stone with Rocket and Asgard, like his time travel team, he picked up his hammer and brought it with him. So that's why he can have it and the new one from Infinity Wars, even though his sister had quote-unquote broke it. When all of the characters who had snapped away were coming back, that was a very sad scene. Like, I probably literally cried. Like, we see Spider-Man, and we see Hope and Hank Pym. We saw Black Panther, etc., etc. They're all coming back. Oh, the Guardians. We had like Mantis and Groot and Drax. It was the saddest thing to see all of them come back, but also really, really happy. Like, sad in a good way is what I meant. However, when Quill, sees Gamora, that technically is Gamora of the past. Whatever timeline, I can't remember, that Nebula and Rhodes had gone back to. And so when Peter tries to, like, touch her, hug her, kiss her, I don't know the exact details, she's like, hell no. And then Nebula explains to her that it was either him or Drax. Those are her choices. So I liked how Pepper Potts was in the battle. I can't remember the times he last used her Lady Iron Man suit. Like, maybe in one of these solo Iron Man movies she might have done something, but I can't remember the last time she was fighting. So I really liked seeing her in the battle in her suit. And I also really, really liked the scene between Spider-Man and Iron Man, their union, their hug. The absolute cutest thing. probably of the whole movie. Like, I love Parker being like, remember that time you were in space and I turned to dust? And I like his speech. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was so cute. And also, it just makes him sound so innocent. Like, we were in space and then I was dusty and then it was 5 years later. Like, oh my god, it's so cute. Like, just seeing everyone come back. Doctor Strange, Doctor Wu, like, all of them. I don't want to keep naming, but seeing all of them come back, I loved knowing that it was going to be okay. Besides Natasha, of course. So we've now come to the end of that final battle, and we get the depressing Iron Man's death scene, which I knew was coming. I'd been spoiled, but that is what I was talking about earlier with the irony of the quote, and not die trying. You tried, you succeeded, but you did not quite get the memo of not dying. It was really, really sad, but it is what it is. So after the scene and also funeral scene of Tony's death, we get scenes between different characters, what each grouping is now doing with their lives after the events of Endgame. One of those scenes is all the Guardians plus Thor aboard of Rocket's ship. Quill, who's captain, is at the map trying to figure out where they're going to go, and Thor touches the map, which pisses him off, and talking about whatever it is talking about, something about fighting each other. I don't have the exact details, but I just love how Mantis says, yes, please, use knives. Like, Mantis wants to see them fight each other with knives, and I just think it's the funniest thing. How she's like so genuine, like, yes, please, use knives. Another what happens after the movie scene is a scene between Steve, Sam, Bucky, and Banner. Banner is setting up the time travel thinger so that Steve can take all the stones back to their respective spot, like I mentioned earlier in the video. I forget why I was mentioning it, but anyway, I mentioned it. And he's talking to Sam and Bucky before he leaves, and they have, again, the iconic Stucky stupid quote. Don't do anything stupid when I'm gone. Well, how can I? I've taken all the stupid with you. Oh my god, iconic, stupid, Stucky quote. Absolutely iconic. And their reunion, they didn't really get much of one during the battle that we saw, so it's just that scene. Like, yes, I loved it. Beautiful. But then after he returns the stones and he's old, like I said earlier, I'm very happy that he gave his mantle to Sam, because I like Sam. I love Falcon. Like all these characters, I love all of them. They're all great. And that's Clints is a bad guy, but talking about heroes here, I like all of them. I just think, as many fans do, that he should have given it to Bucky. I also think that as much as I love Peggy and their marriage, that was the cutest thing, that little ring shot. As much as I love his relationship to Peggy and Peggy herself, that he should not have gone back and done that. Like, I am on that Stucky train. That team Stucky so hard. You chose to date Peggy. You gave your mantle to Sam. And then Bucky's just like, okay with it. Like, he was so calm, telling Sam to go and telling Sam to take it. And like, how? How are you so okay with this? Like, I do not want to get on a Stucky Bucky rant. That's not what this video is. It's not me getting pissed about what Steve did. I'm happy with his choices. I love Peggy, I love Sam, blah, 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 like what I said. But all of us Stuckies see it the same way. That he should have given both to him. His love and his shield. Thank you for playing. Granted, if he'd given his love, he would have had to give a shield because he'd still be the age he was for the whole part of the movie and he'd keep it, but there is such thing as retiring, so maybe, just maybe, he would still choose to. But anyway, we'll have to know more about that when we watch Falcon Winter Soldier. That's the new TV show coming up. We'll have to learn more about that later. So that was the last note that I had written down on my paper. So hopefully everything I said made sense. I didn't talk too fast in my passion or whatever. I didn't repeat myself too much. But anyway, I'm now going to give my review of the film. And I definitely think this one was a little better than Infinity Wars, as great as a movie as that was. Anyway, I'm thinking I want to go with a solid 9 out of 10. I very highly recommend that you watch this movie. you have to have watched Infinity Wars first, but and ideally also the rest of the MCU leading up to it. But as long as you watch Infinity Wars, you will understand enough of this movie, and you can watch it and you can enjoy it. There's comedy, there's sadness, there's action, like there's a genre more or less for everybody. No horror, but it's a very, very good movie, and I highly recommend it. So 9 out of 10. That concludes this review of Marvel Avengers Endgame. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new so you don't miss any of my future content. Check me out on social media linked in the description. And aloha till next time.